we're trying to get a representative, sample, and we've failed because Clara's on the podcast and she's not a representation of U of T. She's a massive outlier. Clara has, probably I would be safe to say is the most social person in our year. So like you said, even offline, off Instagram, she knows everything about you. She has the tea. So basically we just Neki and I wanted to bring her on for her to spill some of it. So welcome to the pod, Clara.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be your first student, and we'll see what I can bring to the table in terms of tea. But thank you so much for having me, guys.
So, Claire, I met you once. Can you tell me something about you? Like how did you get into dental school? Why dentistry? Why'd you go down this path?
Yeah, so first of all, actually, Neki, you and I have more in common than you might know.
Oh man, did you just stalk me already?
You gave some a bit away when you presented, so I didn't have to do as much work with you.
That's the alibi, I'm sure.
But I'm from Alberta.
And really?
Yeah. And actually, I'm not sure if you're from Alberta or Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I'm from Calgary. I grew up in Calgary.
I was born in Calgary.
Oh, nice.
After a year of my life, though, I moved to Edmonton, and then I grew up there for my first 17 years. And then before I moved away to go to Queens in Ontario for my undergrad. And then I stayed in Ontario for dental school. Nice. But we are both from the prairies. Actually, the Rocky Mountains in Alberta. And then in terms of dentistry, I grew up as a child having just a mouthful of cavities. I hated brushing my teeth as a toddler, as a 3-year-old, and my parents didn't know how bad things could get. They weren't very well versed in like oral health, all the dental education, etc. And so if I didn't want to brush my teeth, my mom kind of let it slide. And, she was maybe successful a couple times a week. And so I had a mouth just full of rotting teeth, and I spent a lot of time in the dental clinic growing up. I don't remember too much of it. I just remember being there and then having a lot of extractions, teeth taken out. And so I needed a lot of ortho work done as well when I was a teenager and getting into those years. And I had my ortho work done at the U of A, the University of Alberta's ortho clinic. And so I had all of those discussions around me growing up about like treatment and, same as what we're going through now in dental school. All of the profs would come around and be like, okay, so like, what do you think? And what are we doing here? And so I heard a lot of the discussions, and I was kind of more involved in hearing about my treatment than most other people would. And so I found myself in those situations at the clinic a lot. And I just grew up like being really appreciative of what the profession did for me. And I always had positive experiences. I think I was lucky to have very good clinicians and very kind and relatable people around me treating me. And so, yeah, I fell into it probably around high school. I knew I really liked the field and I was passionate about it. My family was always in healthcare. My mom is a nurse, and my sister went into medicine, and she's 10 years older than me. And so I kind of got to see her path growing up, but I never felt the same passion towards medicine and the entirety of the body as I did towards dentistry. And so come grade 11, 12, I knew that's what I wanted to try my hand at. And so I'm lucky to have found my way here.
Man, I don't think I've ever heard of a dental student or, a dentist now saying, I wanted to become a dentist because I had a lot of cavities when I was a kid. I think that is a great story. Akil, did you have a lot of cavities?
Oh, yeah, I did. I grew up a fat kid. Are you kidding me? All I ate was sugar. How could I not have cavities?
Man, so did I. I've never had a cavity before.
You weren't eating the right stuff. I got to get you on my supply. I'll get you on my supply. But Clara, like, I think a lot of people, when they, look at, whether they want to go to U of T or they want to go to U of A, I think the best thing, at least when like I get those questions on Instagram, is to really understand, or even if you want to get into dentistry, is really understand what the day in the life looks like. I guess we're in the same shoes, so I kind of know what the day in your life looks like. But for Neki, who's so far removed from dental school, so many years.
How old do you think I am? Come on, man. I guess I am pretty far removed. Yeah.
But like for the listeners, like maybe the people that want to go to dental school, tell us what your typical day in the life looks like. your average day in Clara's life.
My average day in Clara's life. All right. So I think a huge draw toward, I know you kind of mentioned it in the beginning of your question, U of T versus U of A, but a huge draw to coming to U of T for me was being situated in a big city and kind of having all of those opportunities available to me. As in having a lot of options in terms of things to do and variety and like city experiences, like having lots of gyms to go to, places to eat, things to do. And I think I like as much as I can with our schedules. I like to tie that in as much as I can throughout my day, throughout my weeks to keep life fun and interesting. If I were to give an idealized average day in my life, I'd wake up and go to a morning workout before the school day started, which sometimes I'm successful at, sometimes I'm not. F45 is a great one. There's Sweat and Tonic is a big one in Toronto. Sometimes just hitting the condo gym, getting a good sweat in. And then our day usually starts around either 8 or 9. So we'd go to school, sometimes have a lecture in the morning. And then our clinic day, if we have a morning lecture, usually starts around 9:45. And so we get into clinic. Right now, 3rd and 4th years are paired. So either you have a session, I have a session, or my partner has a session. And then we swap in the PM and I'd assist her if I had a patient in the morning. We go through that if it's a normal clinic day. And then after school, usually I have some kind of extracurricular things going on. I'm involved in the Dental Student Society. Before that, it's kind of similar to class council, but on the school-wide scale. So sometimes we'll have meetings, sometimes we'll have things to do in terms of that, in terms of planning events for the school, etc. If not, usually there's things to do for school, studying, of course, assignments that we have working on. But if I find myself with some free time, I like to hang out with friends, spend time, do things, go for dinner or hang out. If anything, I do love to get together with friends. And so I tie that in if we have the time, if we have the luxury to spare. And yeah, just spending time around the city. There's always things to do. And even just walking around, I do love the feeling of being in a big city. So yeah, I find myself in the streets a lot.
I just find it's just such a different vibe in Toronto than it is. Like I went to school in Saskatchewan at U of S, the U of S, not the U of T, but U of S, we have a much smaller school. Saskatoon is about a millionth of the size of Toronto is, and we don't have all the beautiful restaurants. It's not as beautiful as Toronto is. I absolutely love going to Toronto because there's always so much to do. It's just such a different vibe though, because I always found, you're going to the same restaurants all the time and you're not going because I see your Instagram, you're always going to these nice restaurants. And I'm like, I'll go for a burger, I guess. Like, it's such a different lifestyle. Did you ever think, like, I know you moved to Ontario after grade 12. Did you ever think how different your life would be if you came back to Alberta or did you know you always wanted to stay out east?
I've definitely thought of both sides to it. To be honest, I never imagined myself getting in. I was always like hopeful of wherever I got in when I was applying to dental school. I was like, I will be grateful to get in wherever I get in. And
I totally felt the exact same way because I'm like, man, I'm not the smartest guy here.
Exactly.
I'll take Boston. You want me? I'll come. I'll mortgage my dad's house. Boston, you got me, man. I'll come.
Exactly.
Yeah, anywhere. I totally hear you.
100%. I wasn't like I wasn't, counting on getting in anywhere. I was like, wherever I get in, I will be happy to go. Let me apply broadly. We'll see if anyone wants me and I'll be happy to go wherever. And so I had gotten into U of A and U of T. And so I was kind of deciding between those two places. But for me, I grew up in Edmonton. And it's different. I feel like when you grow up somewhere, you want to move away, you want the new experiences, you want the freedom. That was kind of what I wanted when I moved away from undergrad. And I was like, well, I don't want to really like go back home, live with my parents. I'm used to this freedom and I'd like to like stay and be elsewhere if I can. And so for me, I just wanted new experiences. I didn't really want to go back to living at home and sort of like, I knew the life of like being in Edmonton, and I kind of wanted something new. And so when I'd gotten into U of T, I was thrilled. I was really excited. I never envisioned it, but like after it happened, I was really, really excited for it. And so, yeah, I wasn't really prepared myself, and I wouldn't have imagined myself like living my day-to-day life before I'd gotten in. But after it, I was like, I'm so excited for whatever opportunities come my way. I'm like, if I'm spending the next 4 years here, I'm going to be so excited for it. And I'm going to, I want to say like yes to all these opportunities. I want to take advantage of being in this big city with so many people, like in such close proximity and within my reach. Like, this is amazing. And I never wanted to take it for granted. And so I feel like up to this point, I feel like I've been happy with, the opportunities I've taken advantage of, and like the people I've just met and come across while being here.
Certainly a lot of opportunities Clara takes advantage of. If you wanna update a reel at Clara Dentistry on Instagram, you'll get the right away update of where she is. But what's interesting though is, you mentioned something about, chasing opportunity. I remember when I was in my undergrad, I had a really good friend at NYU, and she got the chance to speak at the UN, like the United Nations.
What? Really?
Yeah. Because one of her profs at NYU was also cross-appointed at something at the UN. And I remember hearing that story from her, and I'm like, man, like I'm in London, Ontario. Like, what is there to do in London? What am I going to speak at? Like there's no like it's very unlikely that my prof is going to be cross-appointed at the UN in New York, right? Like that stretches so far. So it's like, that's so underrated that, where the opportunities are at or where people should go. I think a lot of people take on that because it's so competitive to get into dental school. A lot of people take on that attitude of, I'll just go where I get in. But I don't know. I would, if it's going to take an extra year, it might be worth reapplying to get into the place where you actually want to be versus just applying to where you get in. I know it's a privileged position to take, but it's worth considering. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I personally, I don't know how I feel about that, because you have to think about a lost year of income too. And let's be honest, like if you're going to NYU, what is it, like $100K a year? American?
A US.
Something like
more than
more than that, plus living there. And I totally, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. I went to school in the smallest dental school in Canada. I 100% agree with you. The opportunities that Clara has is not the same opportunities that I have. Like she has, you guys both have so many different opportunities, but I was always nervous. Why not just go to the school that accepts you, and then you'll have that extra year of income versus an extra year of sweating if you'll even, because nothing's guaranteed that you're going to get into that school. I don't know. That's just what I think.
I was working at the time though, so I had a bit of a different perspective. I was working. I was like, I'm good with this cushy consulting job. I could do this the rest of my life. Like because that's why I only applied to U of T and Western. And
Clara, it must be nice, hey? Like this guy.
He had the luxury.
Clara and I are just busting it, trying to get anywhere, and here you are.
When I left undergrad and I had nothing, literally nothing lined up. I didn't have the grades to get into med school or dental school. I didn't have the business experience to get a business job. I kid you not, shitting my pants every night. Like I was like, what am I going to be? I'm going to be a garbage man. Like that's the third opportunity. It's like you go to medical school or dental school, you go into like business, or you're a garbage man. Like there's no alternative for me. So I was shitting my pants for a little while, but I got over that. Clara, though, I want to ask you, you went to an undergrad, Queens, that had a great culture, like a very vibrant student culture and student life. And some would say that's a reason to go to, one of those schools. U of T just as an undergrad just does not have that same campus feel, right? So how do you take to the culture at a city school that, and compare it to what it was like at Queens, where it was, very much a homogenous community?
So I do think that there is a bit of a differentiation between U of T's undergrad campus culture and the dental school, because I do think that the dental school does largely a very good job at, having traditions, having a pretty vibrant student life and good culture surrounding that as compared to their undergrad campus. 100%, I can totally speak on the difference in feel and culture, what it feels like when you step onto the campuses, for sure, because I think it was so valuable and it was such a great experience being at Queen's, where there was such a campus culture, like you said, homogenous vibe. And it was a great place to be. And I have nothing but good memories from doing my undergrad there. And, you know, me being a very social person, I think that having those social outlets really gives me the drive for the rest of my week. And so when I was at undergrad, I would spend, you know, Sunday to Thursday doing my school stuff, getting it all done, putting my head down. And then I would always take my Friday and Saturday nights to be with friends, go out and like let loose. And because realistically, I wouldn't be studying Friday and Saturday nights anyways, as long as I got my work done throughout the week. And so I went out in undergrad basically every weekend. And I mean, I was able to, you know, get all my work done, go to dental
That's so
school.
awesome.
And it was great. It was great. Like I don't look back on my undergrad experiences bitterly. Like I think I lived it to the fullest and it was great. And I don't know if I'd be able to say the same thing if I had gone to like a commuter school in the big city where you don't get that vibe as much. And I think it can be like lonely and isolating from things that I've heard, like what I could imagine being at a school like that without the right support. I feel like you'd have to go out of your way to make those connections and like find that culture for yourself and like find the group of friends to be able to enjoy it the same way. So I think it was a great experience to go to a smaller school like that where people like moved there and like lived on campus, etc. But I haven't found the transition to be too bad because I think in dental school it's small enough and you find your own people and there are lots of things planned and traditions within the school that, you know, I've looked to be a part of. And I think if you look for it, it's there in dental school.
I just have such a different experience because in my undergrad, I went to University of Calgary and I was stressed out every single day for 4 years because, you know, my dad's at home. Necky, are you studying? I'm like, hell yeah, Dad, I'm studying every single Friday night. Where am I? I'm in the library studying. And here Clara's just, you know, going to the club Friday night. I'm going to get into dental school. It's not that bad.
2 years in a row, I watched the Super Bowl from the library. 2
Yeah,
years.
this is
2
what
years
you
in a row.
do. Yeah. And I took the number 19 bus home at 11:10 p.m. every night for 4 years because I was in the library studying. I don't know. I just found it so cutthroat, competitive. Maybe that was my perception of it. I didn't have any fun in undergrad.
Neither did
I think if I'd gone to a commuter school or I was living, you know, in Edmonton at home, I probably would have had very similar experiences. Don't really have a doubt, but
so
I think
maybe it's all about just leaving. Maybe that was the secret. It's about leaving where you're from and because then you get to live your life.
I think if you have the personality for that, I don't think like necessarily that would suit all personalities, but I think if you think that that would give you some freedom and like drive to live, 100%. I think that's what changed my life so much in terms of like my lived experiences. It was absolutely great. Like I don't think I would be the same person if I didn't go away and you know, experience life away from home.
I don't think the big move to the big city is the solution. My old roommate is now at NYU Dental, and he is like the furthest thing from a city guy as I was going to call him a city mouse, but he would kill me if I called him that. It's the furthest thing from a city mouse is you can probably get. And he hates every minute of being in New York, but he, you know, it's not like it's changed him. So I don't know if it's like everyone will just like embrace it like you did, but I don't know. It's a good question.
100%. I agree. My sister actually did 2 years of a fellowship in New York City for like the last of her training. And by her second year, she was like, I can't wait to move out of New York City. It's so not for me. It's like so expensive. There's so many people. It's like dirty. So I don't think it's for everyone. I think it takes the right person to take advantage of an environment like that. But I mean, for me, I think I love it. I thrive in it for like a bit. I don't know about for the rest of my life, but I think in my 20s while I'm in school and I get to be surrounded by so many people, I think it's just a perfect storm for me living out my life.
Clara, we have something else in common that you didn't bring up at the beginning. So we've both been on mission trips.
Oh,
yeah. So I've been on 18 of them, and I know you, and I try to take dental students with me every year. So I actually took this kid I used to coach in basketball. His name is Ethan, and now he's a med student at Queen's. And he's like, Nicky, I really want to go into dentistry. And I'm sure you know at Queen's, for 10 people, they have the scholarship that you can get into med school out of high school. You do 2 years, like you get accepted out of high school, and then you do 2 years undergrad, then you're in med school. And he was one of those students. And he actually came to Guatemala with me the year before he got into med school. And he was like, Nicky, I want to be a dentist. I want to practice with you. I want us to be homies for the rest of my life. And then here he gets into med school and he's like, I'm not going to take it because I want to go into dentistry and do mission trips with you. And I'm like, dude, I do that like 1 or 2 weeks a year. You got to live the other 50 weeks living your life, man. And now he's a real doctor and I'm just a bum. And I'm just so proud of him. But and so every year I take 2 to 3 dental students with me. I call it the Jamal and Eliason scholarship. Eliason is my partner at work. And I pay for them to come, and they come with me every year. And you got the chance to go to Granada, right?
I did. Yeah. Did you look at her stalking me?
Kinda, maybe. I don't know. It was
I am the
all
intermediary. I am the iPhone that stands between the info and him. So
there you go.
Yeah. I'm so curious because I didn't go until after I graduated. What was your perception as a dental student? Because everyone kind of just gives me the right answers. They never tell me the truth.
Right. I think, well, first of all, I was very lucky to go on the trip in the year and like the place in dental school that I was last year. So the Grenada trip, or mission trip that U of T runs, is historically for incoming 4th years. So students who have finished their 3rd year, going into their 4th year, they've like had a year in clinics, they've been treating patients. And this was the last year, was the first year that the trip ran in the couple of years before
because of COVID, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that was the last time the trip had happened. And then it just happened to be that the 4th years didn't fill up all of the spots that they had.
Okay, which is mind blowing. Why is that? Because I had the exact same problem.
Yeah. I mean, at our school, I think it was due to a couple things. Due to COVID, that class of students never really had summers off. They had a lot of, summer clinics in the year prior and the year prior to that. So I don't think a lot of them had a break, and a lot of them, I think, just wanted a couple of weeks off of dentistry. And then we also at our school have a summer like emergency clinic program that a number of students, get accepted to like do those couple of weeks. And I think some of them dropped out due to that who had previously committed. And then, other than that, I think some people just honestly wanted a break from dentistry for a couple of weeks. But anyway, so it ended up being that like 7 spots, something like that, had opened up to my class. And it was like first come, first serve, sign up. And I was like walking on the treadmill one day, and then I see a notification. I'm like, oh my God, like no way, this opportunity, let me sign up. Put my name down, and some of my other classmates had as well. But I think when it came down to it, they didn't end up committing fully and like didn't buy their flights, etc. And so I did end up buying a flight, and it worked out that I had a really good friend in 4th year who was going on the trip, Christina, who I think you guys are gonna end up maybe talking to.
Teaser.
So I was
Sneak
like
peek.
all in. I was like, let me go on this trip. This will be great. Like, even if I don't get to do anything, like even if I'm just like cleaning teeth all day, I don't really care. Like, I just want to be there and experience it, and it sounds like the greatest opportunity, so how could I not take this up? And I wasn't really expecting to do anything, because I know that the rest of the students on the trip have had a year of experience, and I haven't really done anything like in a real person yet. But I was like, let me go on this.
Really?
Yeah, I was kind of second year. Well, like other than
that's awesome.
Things, other than cleaning. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, like they might put me on just like hygiene the whole trip, but that's okay. I still want to go. So I signed up, and we went on the trip in like the end of August, just before our school year started. And then honestly, I found myself to be in a really supportive environment. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know the supervising like dentist who was kind of organizing the trip on the school side of things. But it was such a great environment. Like he was so encouraging and supportive, and he believed in me. And he had his kids on the trip, like two of them who are dentists, one's a doctor, one's a nurse. They were all on the trip. And so a couple of them were supervisors as well, alongside a couple of other supervising dentists. But everyone was so supportive and encouraging. And I had a lot of supervision because the rest of the students were kind of good on their own. And they were like, no, like we'll watch you, like you can do it. It's the same thing as like working in a mannequin. You'd be doing this on your own in like a couple of months anyways. Yep. And so yeah, I mean, they made me, you know, believe in myself, and I was like, I can do this. Like I did my first restorations and extraction on the trip, which was crazy.
Let's go.
At the time I was like, there's no way. But it was a very rewarding trip for me because of that, because it was my first experience with real people, and especially being able to serve an underserved population, one that doesn't have much access to care on the island. So all in all, that's what made the trip so rewarding and so eye-opening for me, having that be my first look into dentistry. And it's just, people were so grateful and appreciative of whatever work we were doing for them, you know. And it's simplified too when you go on the mission trips. It's just like restorations or extractions, you know. There's no saving teeth with endo or anything like that. You know, we have like one x-ray gun and you use it if you think you really need to, because you're going through such high volumes of people. But it was a great trip, not only because of that, but also the people. And I feel like the camaraderie that surrounds trips like that, because everyone is there for one purpose. And, you know, the team energy is so great on trips like that. I mean, I've been on one. I say this as if I've been on 18 like you, but it was such a great team environment, and the people were just great. And after the trip too, after the workday is done, you go back and like, you know, you're having dinner together and you're hanging out and like you're reflecting on the day. And even in terms of that, like it was such a great environment, and I look back on it with like very fondly.
Totally. And Clara, I think you nailed it. It's the supportive, it's a whole different vibe. You'd go back, right?
100%. I'm planning to go back this year, as long as it all works out. It's funny because we actually have our like sign up sheet for it coming out.
We have a hard 8 p.m. cutoff.
Before we don't want spots to fill because we want to go on the trip, but we'll see. Ideally, like I would love to go on mission trips to come, and I think throughout a career too, it would be a great
absolutely
thing. Yeah,
I find like once I started taking dental students with me, I formed my own team, because every single year, like if I took 2 or 3, those same 2 or 3 would come back and they would bring their friends, and it's a whole different vibe. And I almost feel like we have this like hidden camaraderie between us, because we know we're there for the right reasons. We're there to help out where we can, and there's no ego. There's no, I can take out this tooth and you can't take out this tooth. It's such a supportive atmosphere here. Let me help you. And you come back with a whole different feeling. And I don't know about what your trip was like, but like where we go and where we stay, it's very rustic. Like we all get the shits. We all get sick. It's part of the fun. And I can't wait to go back. So I'm taking 4 students to Guatemala, hopefully in May. But I wanted to ask you, because I ask everyone that applies, you know, I'll pay for your trip, but you have to write me 1 page on why you want to go. And I asked the question, do you think that short-term dental trips are a good idea? Do you know what I mean? And it makes you think, because so like you've been on 1 trip, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, because we both know it's not a long-term solution, but do you think it's a good idea? What do you think?
I mean, I think I definitely think it's a good idea, so long as they're recurring. Like the same individual doesn't have to be going, you know, time after time after time. But I think if it's organized in a way that, you know, the area or wherever you're going is still seeing care periodically, I think in a short amount of time, you can get a lot of work done and you can see a lot of patients. And what's great with dentistry is that you can provide immediate, solutions to things, as opposed to medicine or, something that requires more, like medication based or like requires more follow-up. But with dentistry, you can do a lot in a short amount of time, and you can see a lot of people and give them direct solutions in a short amount of time. And I think as per continuity of care, as long as there's people that are going back periodically, it doesn't have to be many times a year. Even if it's once a year, once every 2 years, I think that provides a lot more of a solution than people might think.
Absolutely. Because, people used to rag on me a bit. They would say, what you're doing isn't sustainable. Are you really solving the problem? And I started getting in my own head and I'm like, you're right. I'm not really solving the problem. But then you have to remember what your mandate actually is. Your mandate isn't to solve the oral health crisis in an entire country. And my girlfriend, Nicole, she works in development and she's just so smart and she's amazing. And she told me something that changed my life forever. And she said, Neki, our goal isn't widespread change. We won't be able to achieve that on these trips, but we have the ability to change someone's day, someone's tomorrow, and someone's forever, just with that one interaction. And ever since then, it just changed my whole perception. I just had this smile on my face and I'm like, what? I can just change one person. I can pull that one tooth. I can get them out of pain. I can get them going back to work. Boom, I've made my goal. You know what I mean? It's not that we have to change the world. We can just change that one person. Hey, Clara, like, did you saw that on the trip, right?
100%, 100%, especially when you're actually there and you're meeting the people and you're getting to know them and you're hearing their stories. And how this, like, it sounds so cheesy, but how this like one little thing has bettered their day, changed their life, made their lives just a little more livable and enjoyable. I think as soon as you see that, you don't question whether it's worth it or not. I absolutely think it is.
See, you've seen it. And once you've seen it, like, it's hard not to go back.
Yeah.
Neki, you're not able to use that question anymore because you just gave away the whole answer key.
Oh shit.
I'm watching. That is. When you're doing like an interview or like people who go to dental school, they're like, they watch for the expression of the person that they're being interviewed by and they're seeing if they're on the right track. I'm just watching Neki's face as you're giving the answer. I'm like, some kid is now just going to use his exact answer because Neki's not able to hide his expression.
Are you joking me? They're probably on like Chat GPT trying to like, come up with the answer right now. Yeah, and I'm like, man, it's so easy to be a student right now. Give me an essay. I can pop one out in 2 minutes, man.
Yeah, all you got to do is listen to Hi, I'm Dr. Podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. If you want a free trip to paradise, listen to the podcast. But Clara, we've talked a lot about what you've done, but you know why I'm such a big Clara fan? Good question. I am such a big Clara fan because you are such an outlier in our program and at our school. There's like very few there's no Claras. There's no Claras at all, but there's even fewer people like you, or like, and you interpret it as you will, but what makes you in your own eyes, and do you think that's a net positive or a net negative?
That is a question.
let me clarify, because I think in a lot of these type A professions there's selection bias, and you kind of select for inside of the box, right? There's a couple of fish that slip through like you, but by and large, you're selecting, there's a huge selection bias, right? So like, do you think that difference you have is a positive or a negative?
So, hey, I'm not too sure what you mean by which differences I have, whether they be good or bad. I'm just kidding. I think I would describe myself as very social, and I think a lot of the things that I involve myself in has to do with that. I think I like to meet a lot of different people and get involved in things and say yes to opportunities. And I think that has shaped a lot of my experiences, like in and out of school. I think the things that I've gotten involved in school, largely have to do with my love and appreciation for connecting people and all things social. Um, and I think there's so much more to draw from life than just school. So I like to live my life experiences, how I so choose. And if I want to, spend more time with people or doing just things that bring me joy in life, like just experiencing, life things that might not seem, important to someone who's living the perils of dental school, and just I don't know, saying yes to my experiences and going out and living and being with friends and going on these adventures that people ask if I want to get involved in. I say yes to them.
Clara, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, or you just have a very inviting personality. Like, I want to be your friend. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have that energy. Yeah, right. Like, everyone wants to be Clara's friend, and like you're smiling all the time, and I smile all the time, and that's almost my defense mechanism, because then I feel like I can never be hurt because I'm always smiling, and I see that in you too. Is just like, I'm always going to be positive. But there's days that tear us apart, and there's days that school tears us apart. We don't do well on tests, or a professor shits on us one day. But like, what do you do to always stay so positive? Like, what is it about you that is able to do that?
Honestly, I'm not always so positive, but I think as soon as you're interacting with people, I mean, whether it be for better or worse, like quote unquote putting on a show or not, like, I think I like to remember that the way we present ourselves to other people has an impact on anyone's day. And if you can put forward good energy and be a source of that to other people, even if you're just interacting with them, it makes everything a whole lot more pleasant and enjoyable. And it just makes everything easier to be a good source of
I totally agree.
yeah. And so, I mean, even if you're having a bad day, like, how bad is it really? In our positions where, we are very privileged, like, a bad day isn't really a bad day. It's not a bad life, I mean to say. And I think just having that perspective, like, things can get you down, but it's not a bad life. And I think as soon as you remember that, you can put forth good energy when you're interacting with people and, having to participate in society 100%. And so, I just think keeping that in mind, having that mentality, and always remembering that perspective really
it's perspective, Akil. It's perspective. That's the answer. Akil's always he's just so stoic. And I'm like, bro, you got to start smiling more. And he's like, shut up, man. You smile more. I'm like, I already do.
Yeah. Like, you all smiley folk just compliment each other and how much you smile. No one's gonna play the devil's advocate here. No one's gonna advocate for smiling less. So I'm not even gonna go down that rabbit hole. But Clara, tell me if you remember this situation. So this is back, take us back to lab 4, where we're working on these are like our phantom heads, like our dummy models that were
mannequins. Yeah.
Yeah, the mannequins we're working on. So, I'm there, terrible as always. Like, cannot get this bridge to work, right? Like, every time, like, drill, snap, temp again, snap, try something else, take it off with an explorer, snap. Like, it is not going my way. And Claire is also snapping all of her bridges and everything she's doing. But the difference was, I remember I was like, Claire and I would have a lot of like life chats, because you're just sitting there, you're not allowed to listen to music really. You're just kind of chatting. Actually, we got separated once, like a bunch of first graders. But we're chatting away, and she's like, aren't we so lucky that we just get to like do this like arts and crafts project all day for 4 hours, versus, you look at law or medicine or pharmacy, and they're just sitting there reading and just hounding the books. And I remember at that exact moment, it just like tweaked my perspective on, I was like, you know what? Like, you're right. You can, in your subjective reality, you can complain and complain and complain, until you actually look at what's out there and you're like, God, if I had to read for 5 hours, I'm dyslexic. If I had to read for 5 hours in a week, I would probably drop out. But if I had to read 5 hours a day of like a brief or a case, that would be my nightmare. And it's like, Clara, do you remember that? Do you remember where you're like, I could just play? We just play around all day. We play with putty. We play with materials. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I feel like we had a lot of moments like that where we were like, what are we doing? And then we were like, no, wait, it's not that bad. I do. I remember thinking that a lot, you know, you're frustrated in the moment, but we're all lucky to be here. And, you know, like if I think back, it was something that I, not to get cliche, but you know, just dreamed of being here. And so once you think back to that, it's not so bad. So
You know, I totally agree though, because like, don't you remember being in first year university and thinking, I will do anything in my power to be there? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And when I remember I used to see the med students, like, because there's no dental school in Calgary, but you see the med students come in with their backpacks to the library, and I would just stare and I'd be like, these guys are idols. Do you know what I mean? Like, how did they get there? And what did they have to do to get there? And I remember, you know, talking to one of them, like, and then you realize they're just everyday people. They're me and you. And, you know, I look back and I'm like, whenever we have a shitty day, like, you know, it's perspective, because 15 years ago, I would have done anything to be in this seat right here, right now, doing that work. Right.
100%. Yeah, I think about that all the time because we would have done it, or I at least, you know, and some other people, but would have done anything to have gotten in and just have that sense of peace and security and all of that comes with it. So for sure, I 100% agree with you. I totally felt that.
So, Clara, I have to ask you, what are you going to do after you graduate? What are you thinking?
So right now, I'm kind of open to things, and I'm not trying to jump straight into private practice actually. I like the thought of having another year after dental school to kind of live my experiences before settling down into practice and like choosing a place to work. And so right now, as for now, I think I'm thinking general dentistry, and I'm not thinking about specializing at this point. There's nothing that really speaks to me, and so for now, I think I'm just gonna jump into general dentistry, and if anything, see what I like once I start practicing. I've heard, you know, time and time again that you don't really know general dentistry until you are out of dental school and you're in private practice and living that day-to-day life and seeing how things really are. And so I definitely see myself doing that. I'm, like I said, I'm also not in a huge rush to work right after school. So at this point, I think I'm going to apply for some programs, like GPRs or AGDs in my next year of school. So I guess the summer before fourth year is when you kind of get those things started. And I'm thinking of applying to programs in the States. I don't think I want to stay in Canada just because
Canada
again,
can't hold you down. You need to grow. You need to blossom. You need to find your way out in USA. I love it.
I keep going further and further away from home.
This girl's going to be in New York running it right here, right?
Well, we'll see. We'll see where I end up because it's not just about where I want to be, but they have to want me to.
This again.
Exactly. Being happy wherever I end up. But exactly, I am kind of looking for another year of just like life experience alongside the additional experience in dentistry that you're gonna get. But I'm kind of thinking if I'm gonna live a year and do a year of experience, I might as well take up the life experiences that come along with it. And so I think I'm gonna try and apply to probably major big cities, programs there and see what happens. You know, I won't know until about a year later when Match comes out, but I think I'm going to be applying to programs in the States and hopefully ending up in a big city for a year and coming back with another year of stories.
Yo, Neki,
Yo,
do you know why Claire's in no rush? She knows where I'm taking this.
No.
So another Clara story. So I'm a 97, right? I took a year off before going to dental school. Yeah. I told myself I refused to go to school with someone who was born after the year 2000, right? Like fair. Like if I'm in 97, I don't want to go to school with a bunch of like kids, right? So again, probably like one of the first weeks of school, I'm like, so Clara, what are you like a 96, 97, 98,
2003.
99, 2000? I was like, please stop me before I get to 2000. She skipped a grade and then got in after third year.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, I
You'll be
could
done by
pretty
the time
much
you're what, 23, 24?
I'll be
24.
done right before
23.
I turn 24. Just because my birthday happens to be in like July.
She will be
Oh,
2 years younger than me when she's done.
You know,
Currently.
here's the sense that I'm getting here. Clara likes to go out on the weekend. She doesn't have to study that hard. Oh, I just went to Queens for my undergrad. No big deal. Got into U of T, U of A. No big deal. President of the social committee. And now we learned she skips a grade. I feel like she's like some sort of genius, but she's not really giving that off. Hey.
No, no, lucky and like
No.
happen
Humble.
to work out in the right places at the right times. And
No. Clara will teach us how to use talk tick or whatever it's called. But Clara, tell the listeners, because I know there's a lot of people that want to go to the US. There's a lot of people that want to do a GPR, what have you. Can you give the listeners just like a brief synopsis of what you've learned about this process of going to the US?
yeah, for sure. I definitely don't know all that there is to know about the process because I haven't gone through it yet. And, it's the very initial stages of looking into it. So my apologies if I misspeak about anything or I don't have all my facts straight. But to my understanding, there's programs in the US and Canada, and, graduates of dental schools of both those countries can participate in the same match system if they go through that process. There's some schools that don't participate in the match process as well, and those are just applications. They interview you separate from the match system, and then they decide on their candidates before the match process happens.
How do you find out like which one is which?
So there's a number of different websites, like official websites. There's one for like the National Match Program, I believe. There's like the ADA, I think, that has a listing of all the accredited programs or something like that. And then I think there's another website called CODA or CODA, and that has all of the programs, and I believe it states whether they participate in match or not. Again, I might be misspeaking. I just know there's a couple of official different websites that serve similar but different purposes. But if you look into it, you can find out which programs participate or not. Again, I haven't gone through it fully, but to my understanding, there are a lot more schools that participate in the match than don't. And
do you have to write your American boards?
So to my understanding, schools in the States, there's some of them that want to see that you've passed your American boards before applying to the programs. And so if you want to apply and be part of those programs, and you write your American boards in the summer between third and fourth year, which is I think what many people are doing if they think that they might be applying to programs in the States. And then I think there's some programs that let you apply and go through that process and then write your boards as long as you have passed your American boards before starting. And then those people typically write their American boards right after writing Canadian boards towards the end of fourth year. I believe that's how it sort of works. But I do think that if you're going to participate in an American program, that they do want to see that you've passed your American boards. But from what I've heard, typically from Canadian students, is that like the third year final exams prepares you pretty well for the American boards, and you don't have to study for too long in the summer before writing them. Or Canadian boards are like great preparation for that, and you can sort of write it pretty much right after and be fine with all the preparation that you've done for the Canadian exams. So it ends up being like not too much of an additional factor to most people from what it sounds like. So it's definitely a good thing.
It's so funny because like writing the American boards was not even a thought. I didn't even know it was a possibility when I was going through dental school. Like no one talked about that.
Yeah,
I don't know anyone that wrote their boards. And it just blows my mind away that this is such a focal point now. Like, Akil, are you writing your boards?
What boards?
The American board.
Probably. I mean, it's apparently a lot easier. I'm gonna get into trouble. A lot easier than the Canadian boards, but Like, and it's you've, like Clara said, you've kind of studied for it, so you may as well do it.
Really, man.
Yeah.
I feel like there's all these opportunities. I feel like if I went back right now with all that I know now, I would just destroy those things. It would be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say it, but I have heard that American boards aren't as hard as the Canadian ones, and so I think there's incentive to write, and it's not too much of a process for Canadian students. So I think that, you know, lots of people end up writing it, at least with the talks nowadays. I don't know how it used to be, but a lot of people talk about it now, for sure. For sure.
You know what's hilarious? I was just having this conversation. I forget with who, but it was with someone at the school. And I was saying, do you remember when you were in undergrad and you would, I'm not hating on Caribbean doctors, but like you'd know the people that like went away, right? Like they went away and then mysteriously came back, and it's like,
Yeah.
I trained in the US. It's like, no, you you finished it in the US, but you trained in the Caribbean. But the point is that now I find with COVID and, you know, work-life balance, work from home, people are like, you know, literally fighting tooth and nail for Canadian spots just to go live in the Caribbean or just to go live in the US. Like the whole point of staying in Canada was so that I didn't have to go to the US. And now everyone's like in Canada and I want to go to the US. So it's such a spin on like conventional wisdom where people are like, because people, I remember it's the whole thing was, well, how am I going to get back into Canada? Right? Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
Wasn't like, you remember that when you were applying? It's like, well, you know, it's like, especially for med school, like where there's no residency positions in Canada. But now it's like, I don't know if it's because we're older, more mature, or what the reason is, but now no one wants to stay here. They're like, I want to go to the US. I want to go live in California. Why would I want to be in -20? That makes no sense.
That's just
So is your like what would be your dream spot? So you write your boards, you apply. Is your dream spot like New York, or like where are you thinking?
I think for a year I would love to live in a big city like New York, but I don't think I'd see myself living in that big of a city for like life and like settling down.
Yeah.
And all that. I think it'd be too much, and I feel like I'd want, you know, space and reasonable living prices and warm weather. I think somewhere along the West Coast would be great. I think I'd love to live somewhere where there's a lot more nature. Like I think the big cities like Toronto and New York are very fun when you're young or you're in your 20s, and you know, you have all the friends to surround you and like things to do in terms of that. But I think in terms of like settling down, having a family, et cetera, it'd be nice to have a slower paced lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think the West Coast would be great for that, or even maybe somewhere where it's just sunny, because I know the like BC and Seattle, it can be really cloudy during the like fall and winter months, and I'm not
Totally.
sure if
It's
I could
depressing,
stand
man.
that.
It's depressing.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could go like weeks and months without seeing much sun. So like, maybe
I
I'll
agree.
end up in like Denver, Colorado. I was like researching the other day, and I was like top 10 sunniest states.
It is it's the sunniest place in North America, is it not?
It's one of them for sure.
Yeah.
But the other states are like absurdly hot places that I don't think I could realistically survive, like Arizona and like
That'd be
Texas
tough.
and, like Florida. I think that's too
Yeah.
hot and humid for me. I don't think I could do it. But I was like, Colorado has like all 4 seasons, and there's like Rocky Mountains. I could go skiing. Maybe I'll end up living there. So who knows? Who knows? But I'm open for sure.
Do you guys not remember the conversation we had like 30 minutes ago? I will go wherever I get in. And now you're ranking places based on cloudiness index. Like, this is what I mean. It makes no sense.
Lifestyle's legit.
No, this is not for my 1 year. This is like for me to like live afterwards. For the 1 year, I'd still like to be in a big city and end up wherever wants to take me. But
I'd go right to New York and I'd eat at Joe's Pizza every single day. I think that would be the dream. Why not for 1 year?
Yeah.
Go running in Central Park every day. That would be amazing.
That could be my life if they want me. I mean,
I'm sure they'll take it.
out there.
I'll write you a reference letter. It'll be great.
Perfect.
Clara, Clara.dentistry. No, Clara at Clara Dentistry. Tell us about that. Tell us about it. Tell us about the inception of the Instagram account, the infamous Instagram account. You're probably the most well-known U of T student. You and Christina. You and Christina, for sure.
And we take after Dentistry Poppy, really. That's where we get it.
Okay,
You're
Dentistry Poppy.
Dentistry Poppy was the OG. I remember discovering it in first year of dental school, like he didn't tell anyone about it. Like this was like a little secret, like no one knew. And then I found his account, probably through stalking of some sort, like let's be honest. And I found it and I like interrogated him the next day. I was like, what is this dentistry, Poppy? I was like, let me manage your Instagram. I'll take photos of you. Like, what is this news posting? I'm like, people want to see photos of you and like people.
Oh, because
And
I'm not good looking enough for people to just come for me. So I'm like, I need to
It's the
give
hair,
like,
man. You're a handsome fella. What are you
I
talking
need,
about?
I don't know. It's a lot of hair product in here, but I was like, I need to give value. So like, I was doing research on dentistry business and summarizing them in these like horribly like made, like, Procreate. Like I would like write down stuff, like draw arrows, be like, the like Bite Smile was just acquired for $300,000. And like Clara's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, no one wants to see this stuff. Like, get rid of it. I was like, okay, this makes me feel bad. But this is not about me. This is about you. So tell us about Clara Dentistry.
anyways, so I think I was definitely inspired though, because I saw people sharing kind of their journey and what they were going through in dental school. And I honestly, the idea of it scared me at first. I was like, it seems so public. Like people can just like see whatever you're posting and like kind of form a judgment about it. And so it took me a little bit into dental school. I feel like it was March and we were in like second COVID lockdown. Nothing much was going on in like the world and in dental school. And I had a lot of free time on my hands. And I was like, you know what, like F it, I'll start an account and I'm gonna try and like I'll forget about the being nervous about whatever and I'll do it and I don't really care if it goes nowhere and I'm just posting for fun. I like taking pictures, I like the visual side of things, I like making things look nice. So I'm just gonna do it and I'll post for myself and even if no one wants to look at it, that's fine. And so I just started an account and I think I was definitely inspired by other people in my class who just chose to share their journey. And it just kind of went from there. Like I've always liked taking pictures and like, creating a feed. And I like had a little photo album in my phone going of like what I would post next on my feed. And I like had fun planning it and sharing. I've always liked sharing things on social media. I know that's very Gen Z in 2000 of me. But it's been a great resource. Like honestly, you get to speak to so many different people from all sorts of places and you get like great insight onto things if you're looking for it and just be in touch with great people. And it's really nice knowing that like if I wanted to go somewhere or know something more about a certain place or program or whatever, like I could probably find someone to talk to about it. And it's been a really cool place to connect with people. And I know it's a thing it's growing for sure, but it's pretty new to dentistry. I feel like it's always been very big in medicine and other areas of healthcare, but I feel like dentistry has been growing a lot in the last couple of years, and it's been really cool to connect with people over Instagram. Like you said, Neki, like you saw me on Instagram before we met in person or whatever,
Clara,
Clara,
can you go? No, go. You go, Nagi. You go.
I just feel embarrassed about sharing my life on Instagram. Like, who the hell cares about what I'm doing? Or, what if my patients see it? What if, Clara sees it and she's just like, I can't believe that guy's posting that on Instagram. What a loser. Like, what do you say to that?
No, I've I've had those thoughts too, and I think that happens to the best of us. And I think I said the same thing to Akil before I started my account, before I posted anything, and he was like, who the hell cares? Like he was the one who drilled that into me, and he was like, who cares? Like do what you want, post what you want, and like if people have an opinion on it, like that's on them. Like you're not responsible for like meeting people's expectations of who you are. And if people want to watch it and consume it, then that's on them. If they don't want to see it, they don't have to see it. And I feel like I kind of live by that. People follow you if they want to, and they'll click on your stuff if they want to. And if they don't want to see it, then they don't have to click on it, So I feel like keep doing you.
I can't believe I said something that stuck. After all these years, I said something that actually landed. Wow. But the realities of it are there are haters, and I not to say that I'm a big deal, but I have had a hater or two. But you've also had haters.
Are the best. Haters are the best. Okay, you go, Clara.
Clara, tell us about the hater story. You don't have to get into details, but like,
Tell us their name. I'm gonna send them a message right now.
no. Do you remember the hater story
Which hater store? There might be a couple. So.
from oh, actually out west?
Yes. Yeah, this was actually on my personal account.
Oh, because it's a reality of it, right? Like
Yeah.
let's
Oh
call
my
a spade
God.
a spade. A reality of it is people are gonna have opinions, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't say people aren't gonna have opinions. I said you shouldn't care. But tell us about how you took that and how that sort of affected you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak vaguely about it because I don't want to,
Start it up again.
air out any um but I posted a picture of like my endo ring in like second semester. We like had our first day of like endo lab, and I posted a picture of like a bunch of the files in my endo ring, and I posted on my story, and some guy at another dental school like that I kind of knew of back home anyways, responds to my story and starts like ripping on it, and he's like, you're, first of all, like your gloves are too big, like second of all, like
Oh
why do you have so many
God.
files in there,
Give me
and
a
like,
break.
blah 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 blah, and like U of T, he was like ripping on U of T and like the students, and like why do you do all this stuff, and he was like, why are you all posting on Instagram also, like why do you guys think that like people want to see this, you guys should like focus on clinic. And it was just this whole like ripping session. I was like, why? And then at the end of the day, I just blocked him and I carried on with my life. And I was just like, man, like people really put so much effort into just hating on you for no good reason.
Wild.
It's ridiculous, first of all. But do you know what you say to haters?
What?
First of all, you don't say shit. All you do, like you did the right thing, you just block them, but you have to think, okay? And no matter how shitty it makes you feel in the moment, is that they are thinking about you so much more than you're thinking about them.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And like they try to get that power over you, but they
Yeah.
can't. And so it's you did the right thing, but that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard, that people actually take time out of their day to rag on someone like that.
Idiotic. I remember seeing this conversation too, and all the messages were on the left side. It was all him. It was all him, just like self-destructing. And I'm like, dude, just like
Just
quit
go.
when you're like leave some dignity, please. Like, come on. Like, is this all you got? Like, it was just ridiculous. But it's a reality of it, right? Like, it's whether or not people say it or don't say it, people are gonna have an opinion, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, all three of us are on Instagram. All three of us put, if you compare it to many years ago, a good part of our lives out there, which, leaves all three of us. I mean, this guy's going to come after all three of us now.
Let's go. I'll take them. Man, Clara, I have to tell you, I used to, that shit used to bug me so much too, but it wouldn't be on Instagram because like I'm not Insta famous like you. I maybe got like 50 followers, but you got a lot more than I do. But what this guy did was, people, if you want to bring me down, you come to one of my presentations and you say it sucks, and my heart is literally cracking, and it kills me inside, right? So I'm a GP, but I teach people how to take out teeth, right? And I have fun doing it, share all my failures. It's a good time. But I got an email after my last presentation. Oh God, I think it was last year. Like the day after, and he's just like, "Tell me about this case." So I wrote out the case, exactly what I did, and then he's just like, "Would you do the same thing to your dad?" And I was like, weird. Didn't respond. Next day, would you do the same thing to your brother? Next day, would you do the same thing to your mom? And I was like, what the hell is this guy getting at? But it's just like, you don't know how to treatment plan, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, block. I don't have time for this shit either. But like, no matter how much we say, like, it's so easy to block, it tears a piece of us, apart inside that, and it makes you second guess yourself. Do you ever go through that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I think the more times you're in that situation, the easier it is to remind yourself that like people are just going to be this way, and they will,
haters gonna hate.
Yeah, exactly. You said it. People will look for something at all. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be doing all the good in the world, and if your life is out there, people are going to find things to say. And that's on them, and you just have to, let them think what they want to think, and that's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to meet the expectations that other people have, like the idea that they have of you in their heads.
For sure.
So.
I mean, I say this with the utmost respect because I love dogs, but dogs bark. Dogs bark, you know? Like dogs know how to do one thing, and it's bark. I remember like exactly the same situation, you know, played out where, like you said, it's people are going to talk no matter what. In my first year of undergrad, I got all 70s. Again, thought I was going to be garbage man. Went out way too much, right? People just I know the two guys that I'm talking. There's two people in my head that are just going to live there when I tell this whole story. So I'm going to speak to them. They go, you know what? He's not going to go do very much with his life because he parties too much. He goes out too much. He doesn't care. He doesn't care enough, right? At the time, they're probably right. But then in my second year, I, you know, basically isolated myself completely. I went from like, I think a GPA of like low twos to like a 3.97 or 3.96. Like
Dang.
I was like on top of it because I was
Those
like,
are Clara grades, man.
yeah, I know. And you know how much effort that took? I had to isolate myself from everything. And those two same people were still talking shit about me. And they were like, he studies too much. He doesn't go out enough. And I'm like, I can't win. I literally cannot win. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. So after that, I was like, you know what? People are going to talk no matter what you do. People are going to talk if you're too quiet. People are going to talk if you're too loud, if you're too good looking, if you're too, you know, if you're not good looking enough, people are going to talk no matter what. So I think like it's just your job to just leave it out.
You know what's so funny, actually, Akil, after you said that, like people said the same thing about me when I was in like even like middle school and like undergrad. I remember undergrad a lot because I would post like stories if I was out and stuff, and I'd be like having fun, partying. And I remember a guy from back home asked my friend, who was also from back home, but in school with me in undergrad, and he was like, does Clara even like go to class? Like, why is she partying all the time? Like, does she even do any work? And I feel like, you know, outside perceptions of you don't necessarily reflect who you are, what you're doing. And so, and I feel like I've never let that really bother me. I was like, people can have whatever perception of me that they want. I know what I'm doing. Like, I know like what I care about and what I value. And so it's always been kind of laughable to me. I was like, you can have this perception all you want. I mean, like, I know what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And it was just funny after like I've had, you know, my own successes that I was happy about. I was like, well, I hope this guy is laughing now.
I love it.
Claire, I really enjoyed our conversation today. It brought me right back to dental school. From one, I was the social director of my my year as well, and I know you are. So I'm sure you're doing a way better job than I did. But you know, seeing you on Instagram, it's you know, it brings me back to my dental school days too, and continue to keep sharing and keep spreading your light and your joy. And I hope to see you on a mission trip one day. Maybe we can go together as a whole group. Akil, we're in this all together, man. And so you guys all come with our team one day. We would love to have you guys. But Clara, thank you so much for joining us. We had a wicked convo. I loved it.
And guy out west, if you mess with Clara, you mess with the both of us. So.
We're the three musketeers from here on out.
Come at us, bro.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. It was absolutely such a blast.
Welcome to the Hi, I'm Neki. Is that a sweater?
Yeah, dude, it's the Hi, I'm Doctor sweater. Oh, dude, I see you got yours on too. Looking sharp, bro.
Dude, where'd you get yours from?
It was super easy, man. I just went on to our website, www.hiimdoctor.com. That's HIIMDR.com.
We have a website. We must be raking in cash from selling these sweaters.
Dude, we are killing it. I mean, if that includes losing money on every single sweater that we make, I think we're doing really well.
Yeah, Neki and I are donating all proceeds, which is zero, to charity because we are losing money.
I wonder if the charity will pay us. I think we got something here, man. Let's keep on losing money on every sweater.
Alrighty, guys, go check us out. hiimdoctor.com. Neki, so you're gonna now have to change your whole spiel and your whole essay question. You've given away the answer key. What are you gonna do now? What's the new question? You're gonna have to think of a new one now because you gave it all away. It was showing all over your face.
Man, I feel like people, they just don't care enough to write why they want to go. Like it just doesn't make sense. If I was a dental student, this would be the highlight of my entire dental school career, is going to a mountain region in Guatemala and working on like indigenous people that have never seen a dentist before. And it's just honestly a kill. It is just wild. And so it's so hard to explain the experience to you or write it on paper, but
it's a great question.
It changed my life. It is
That's a phenomenal question.
Thanks, man.
It's not anymore because you gave out the answer.
Yeah, I know.
But it was a really good question. It was you should do like one of those like those like Google questions, like how many ping pong balls can you fit into a 747? Just see who can get like, yeah, who can give the most creative answer. I was gonna say something, but I'm choosing not to.
Yeah.
Who can
so
alter
funny.
their mindset?
Our lips are loose the second we hit stop record, and
this is an issue we run into because
it is an issue
for the listeners. You get so the way Neki and I structure this thing is we send an invite out to a guest. The guest accepts. The guest comes on. Depending on the vibe, we kind of record. We hit record right when they come on, or we hit record after we like explain the instructions. But it's a little awkward for that first little period. And then we do this hour-long, episode together. And then, we hit the pause button or hit the end button, and this like wave of like relief comes over people and comes over us because we're no longer on the job. They're no longer on the job. They could say what they want. We could say what we want. And that's like the best conversation.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm never going to forget Bruce, man.
Bruce made me sweat through my shirt, like in a good way. Like I don't know if there's a good way to do it, but he was so enticing and an amazing conversationalist. Like he started reading into me and I started sweating. Like I showed him my sweat stains. It was incredible. It was incredible. But how do maybe we could like leave this open to because we have like a decent amount of people that are all really intelligent listening. Like, to the listeners, like send Neki or I a message. Neki, what's your Instagram handle? At Neki Jamal.
Dr. Neki Jamal.
Is it DR or doctor?
Yeah, DR.
So send a DM to at Dr. Neki Jamal or Dentistry Poppy. I hate every time I have to say that.
I love it.
Dentistry Poppy. And tell us how we can capture people's, true personalities within the confines of cancel culture.
Yeah, how do we do it? Because everyone's so scared of saying the wrong thing.
How do we do it? Like, tell us a podcast that does it well, or a way you found that works, or a way you found, I don't know, maybe we don't drink anymore. So I was going to say we should all booze together, but I don't think that would work either. And then that would just get us in more trouble.
Oh, totally, man. It's so funny because like I talked to one of my best friend here in Lloydminster, and I must have said it something on a podcast. And I said, I'm sitting over here trying not to kill somebody, like when I'm at work every day. And then he looks up at me as he's in my chair and he's just like, don't try to kill me today, Neki. And I was like, what does that even mean? He's like, you said that on your podcast. You're just happy when you don't kill someone. And I was like, sorry, man.
It's scary because we're putting out so many bites of information, and it's bound one day we're going to slip, right?
Oh, totally.
I don't know how it's possible for a human to not make a mistake after, we're going to be hopefully doing this for a while. Like after this many hours of talking and this many hours of improv, like none of this is scripted. None of this is prepared. So it's like, we're bound to slip.
Absolutely. I just hope it's you and not me, man.
You're going to jump on the hate bandwagon. You're like, how could he have said that?
Man, screw him, man. I need a new co-host.
I knew it was bad at the time. I just didn't say anything. I just had to laugh. I was obligated to laugh. But speaking of laughing, Clara.
Man, that girl she's amazing.
She's awesome, isn't she?
Oh,
and
dude,
born
totally.
in 2000.
Yeah. I didn't think those two could coexist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. She's super positive, bundle of energy, and like you can tell she's super smart, and she wants to experience the world. And the thing I admired about her the most is, and I look in the mirror and I don't have this. When I was at her point in her dental school career, like I was honestly, I was in the library every day just hustling and trying to get good grades and thinking that my life depended on this moment right here, right now. And she understands it does not. And she's like, you know what, I can still get good grades, but I can still enjoy Toronto and I can still enjoy my friends and make dental school everything it needs to be and should be, because those are the memories you're going to remember. It's not studying your endo textbook on a Saturday night, right? So I totally, I respect that about you and her for sure, man.
Well, like I think she's a great example of someone who's good at thinking big picture. Like she's not lost in the minutia. Like she understands, like she can tell the forest in the trees, right? She doesn't get lost in that, the whole like, hustle culture and she's very, very balanced in that way, which is why I think we wanted to have her on, because that's pretty unique amongst the type A's that go to dental school typically.
Dude, I still don't have that. I'm still in hustle culture mode in my head. Like if I'm not working on a Saturday night, I don't know what is going on, And so I totally respect people like that can take a step back and it's not, how far you feel like you need to get ahead or what you need to be working on next. It's enjoying today. And I don't have that, but I respect you guys for that for sure.
Oh, 100%. She's more in the bucket than I am, but she's better at enjoying life. This guy cannot go out on a Friday and Saturday. This guy gets a 3-day hangover. So,
oh, welcome. Welcome to the club, man.
This guy needs a week off. So, anything else you need to add?
No, man, that she was amazing. And people like that do phenomenal in dentistry, because once you realize it's not about, your hands and it's not about, how much dental knowledge, but when you understand that this profession is about people, and when you have people like Clara that connect so easily with every single person that she crosses, she is going to be the person that takes dentistry to the next level. And I have 100% faith she's going to do some amazing things in her career.
Totally. She's going to kill it and then give me a job. With that, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Good job.